Hello everyone, and welcome to another News Coolum video. This won't be, I guess, a normal kind of video for me. Not that I think I really have anything established in terms of normal. I've got a lot of projects here on the bench, and I just kind of wanted to go over them with everybody because I also kind of wanted to get from you all a sense of what it is you're actually interested in seeing, and what are the things that you just don't necessarily care about. Because I mean, I'm going to be getting into the weeds quite a lot with some of these projects, and now that I feel like I'm mostly recovered from burnout, getting sort of things sorted, post full-time job, work life, that sort of thing, getting them all sorted. And I just have a backlog of 4.5, 5 years of projects to catch up on. I was just thinking about this the other day. I basically fully started and fully stopped 2 different times, basically, since I purchased the Ford Ranger electrics initially. And that's one of those things where it's not the full-time job necessarily that impacted that, but having a family member with cancer, that actually impacts what you can and can't do. And so sort of having a remission and everything. So there were basically 2 life cycles, if you will, of fully getting ready, fully on board to start projects, and then having to basically just set them aside just due to bandwidth limitations, right? And so these are things that still interest me. They're things that have been in my head spinning around, but in terms of actual action, I just haven't been able to make nearly as much progress on them. And I guess this is that sort of benefit and answer to the question, when you're working full time, you have the money to spend on projects and things of that nature, but you don't have the time to work on them. But when you're not working, you have the time to work on projects, but you often don't have the money to commit to them. Well, I'm in that weird situation where I've already purchased most of this stuff, so not having an income at this point isn't really a deal breaker, because I already have basically all of the things that I was already working on. And one thing I'm not going to share yet, I'm still not ready. I'm having a real big difficulty with it, but there could be a potentially interesting, fun development for the channel. So I guess what I'm saying with this, though, is I wanted to walk you through. I'm no Andy from Offgrid Garage, but I wanted to walk you through the different projects that I have, the different things that I'm working on, and just as a general overview, and then kind of find out from you all what it is you're most interested in seeing. Because I know I set this channel up primarily to be about electric vehicles and public charging infrastructure, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and so some of this is directly related to that. I want to get this workbench cleared off, and I want to get this workspace cleared so that I can actually make real forward progress on these projects. So I kind of put everything up here to just kind of talk about it, and then from there I'll start prioritizing and working. But I wanted to find out from you, what are the things that you're most interested in seeing, because that will, I guess, change my priority. And I'm not going to lie, doing a video of a project increases the time that project takes many-fold. I don't want to say it's an order of magnitude more, but actually videotaping and tracking, and then doing the subsequent video and editing, definitely adds to the time that it takes to do a project, and it can actually just impede my ability to even start. And one example of this, though, of things that I need to clear off, and I need to do so in a hurry and probably have nothing to do with this channel, is I do have to replace an electric motor. Apparently the electric motor in the fuel pump in the gas F-150 died. You know, I've just been trying to find the time to actually work on that, and then it being a Ford, of course, it's never straightforward, easy working on Fords. Hopefully this is something that I could do in an afternoon now that I have this filler hose, but I'm not sure that that's something that interests anybody on this channel. The next thing I'm sort of working on, and I'm gonna move this out of the way at some point, so it's a little bit big, but I'm working on some off-grid solar systems. When I say off-grid, I mean entirely off-grid. Maybe I'll have a power line to feed in from the grid if solar isn't enough, if the batteries run out. I got at least one circuit breaker. I still need to plan this out, but this is kind of the first stage of this. Is I'm building a 225 amp panel. And the goal for this one is going to be to pair with a all-in-one system, right? Solar system. So the plan is to build this in conjunction with the EG4, and this is what I'm going to use moving forward to run our water well pump, as well as all of the electric vehicle charging will go directly off of this panel. So I should be able to run the well and charge at least 2 to 3 EVs on this panel at the same time. Again, just one of those side projects. I'm not sure if you're all that interested in seeing like an off-grid system as I build it and put it in. And then next, I've actually talked about some of these. In fact, I think I showcased this already on a different video, but I was talking about, these are EVE, the LF304. So I have 16 of these that I'm going to be making into a battery. And this is the battery that I'm going to be using to run off of, or run the EG4 all-in-one. And so again, that's it. I have a battery box that I'm ordering too. So again, that's one of the ones that I'm kind of curious if you're interested in seeing stuff like that I'll be doing. And like I said, I have more of these batteries offside, but just in terms of putting together an all-in-one battery box with the BMS for that, that's another project. And then these ones I didn't really show, and I got them and now questioning whether I should have. So these are the 105 amp hours. So you can see these are smaller bus bars. And actually, they don't even come with those separator sheets, I don't think. But these actually come 8 to a box. So you can see that they're significantly smaller. So yeah, these are the LF104. And each one of these is 1/3 of a kilowatt hour, just to put that into perspective. So if you have 100 of them, you actually have a little over like 33 kilowatt hours of energy. So basically 100 of these is a Nissan Leaf battery or whatever from 10 years ago. And so the initial plan, I got 16 of these. The initial plan was that I was going to run a 48 volt system with them, but I'm kind of second guessing that because I might want to do something else with that project. And the project that I'm talking about here is the Ryobi riding lawnmower. At least one of its 12 volt batteries has gone out. It needs to be replaced, but I'm replacing it with lithium. So that's a project that's still sort of in the works. And again, it's one that I think is maybe more closely aligned to what this channel does. So let me know if that's what you're interested in seeing. But I actually don't think I'm going to use these 104 amp hour batteries for that project. I might have better uses for these with different grid tied systems. And oh boy, these are some blasts from the pasts for me. So one of the things that I wanted to do is test out, building some different BMSs. So this is an older Dali BMS 14S. And so this is one that's actually designed to work with, not with LFP, but with the actual lithium ion batteries. So this will supply 48 volts or support a 48 volt battery with a maximum discharge current of 100 amps. And the reason this is going to be helpful is because it's going to link up fairly well with my Nissan Leaf battery cells that I have. So again, making a 100 amp 48 volt pack using this Dali BMS. And then I also have another Dali BMS. This one, I believe, is the 4S. So this is a 12 volt system that would work with a lithium iron phosphate battery, basically 150 amps. So that's another smaller battery project using the LFP. And I should note too that those small 105 amp hour EVE cells, they have a discharge rate of 300 amps. So even with this, you could make a 12 volt battery with them and still be able to max out this BMS and not impact the battery at all. And then for those of you who are wondering what my bludgeoning device is, this is actually the cross member to the Ford Ranger battery pack. I think it's partially structural, but yeah, when I put in the battery pack, this is going to go in below the main DC connector for the Ford Ranger battery pack, and then it just sort of locks into the frame. So I think it's just additional sort of support, but also additional safety. But yeah, so it's also a great paperweight. Here I wanted to talk about something because much like the Dali BMS, the 14S, that's the one for the lithium ion battery. I also have, they never seem to fail to disappoint me. So Green Tech, they do a lot of stuff with, it even says it here, it's Second Life Energy. So they do a lot of stuff with things like old repurposed EV batteries, like the Nissan Leaf and whatnot. And so here's the issue that I have. There's not really any documentation on their site that I could find. I was assuming that it would be included with the package, and it's not. And this is not necessarily a plug and play friendly solution, but also I feel like they were a bit misleading in terms of their marketing. So this is an all-in-one pre-built kit designed specifically to work with Nissan Leaf cells. That's great. It even comes with the rods, the threaded rods, so you can compress the plates together. It comes with the connectors that you can use to run it basically directly to whatever your load is. This is originally what I was planning to use with the Ryobi lawnmower rebuild. And this was listed as a 100 amp BMS that I thought would maybe be a little bit underpowered, but it would probably be close enough, right? And I was doing the math and saying, a 48 volt, you have basically 14 of those Nissan Leaf modules in series, and that will get you your 48 volts. So I bought this with the understanding that, or I should say, I bought these with the understanding that they were 48 volt, 100 amp, because they also had a 50 amp version. But if you look closely, that 100 amp was the peak draw, and it's rated not like a 5-second peak draw or a 30-second peak draw, which might have been okay. It's a 1-second peak draw. And I just started doing the numbers in my head. I don't know the exact power of that Ryobi lawnmower. I just know that the reason I'm having to replace the 12 volt lead acid batteries is because it is exceeding their discharge rate, and lead acid is a very strong discharging battery, and so all it takes is one 12 volt battery in it to start to get weak, and then power starts cutting out, and it's been getting successively worse. So I know there's at least one dead battery in there. This just wouldn't provide the power, and I was thinking, okay, well, maybe if I run both in parallel, but I don't know what kind of problems that would introduce, and even then you're only looking at 200 amps for 1 second, and you're not looking at a whole lot of energy. They're saying it's 3 kilowatt hours, but that is the rated energy. All of my Leaf cells are at 60 to maybe 70% of their original capacity. So all is not lost. I'm still going to use these, and I'm still going to use them with those Nissan Leaf cells, but I'm probably going to use them for mobile power systems. So again, as a different project, let me know if that's what you're interested in. Like I said, GreenTech, their intentions are great. The products that they do, though, they kind of fall short. Like I said, I bought what were supposed to be just barely used Nissan Leaf cells, and they were extremely worn. And then this, where it's a 100 amp BMS, but it's a 100 amp BMS for 1 second. Yeah, no. All right, and then so Doken Power, on the other hand, has always at least lived up to their end of the bargain. So I've always been impressed with their products and their support. I really can't sing their praises high enough. So again, you know, Jenny Wu, if you need anything, but I'm not really making any commissions off this or anything like that. So if you read Chinese, well, this is a JK BMS. This is widely regarded as one of the best BMSs. This is a, well, actually, yeah, it's up to a 24 cells in series. I'm just going to be using it for LFP, so it's going to be 16. But this is a 300 amp with, I believe, a 600 amp peak. So that kind of illustrates the difference between like this and what GreenTech was doing. I know Nissan Leaf cells, they're really not up to the task of that much higher power, but it just goes to show you like the relative value, because this actually costs less than the GreenTech BMS. And I think I ordered 2 of those JK. Yeah, so this should be the exact same 300 amp. So I have 2 of them. Again, one of these is likely going to be used on my main grid tie battery system. Look, it's an unboxing video for the ages. Yeah, some of the heavier duty cables, and this is a JBD. So this is another one that's actually highly recommended within the community. I believe this is the Jabba the Hutt BMS. This is a 7 to 21 cells in series, up to 300 amps again. So this is just basically me covering my bases in terms of having part of this too, some of these I ordered pre-tariff. So it was me kind of covering my bases in terms of getting getting things before any tariffs might have gone into place. And then of course these are 4-gauge wires in and out. So you're looking at again a 48-volt system. Yeah, I wanted to get these before any sort of tariffs came into place that would have affected the price or the availability. And then here's there's a fuse in here, the packaging. So yeah, like I said, JBD, Jabita, and then JK are basically the two BMS builders right now, for at least for small scale home 48-volt use, that people recommend. And then one more of the things that I ordered was another smaller BMS. This is a 20p. This is only a 200 amp. Sorry, and this is the one that I was thinking I would use in the Ryobi lawnmower. And again, another JK and the other JK. So those are all the BMSs that I ordered. So let me know, like, again, I want to see what your interest is in terms of building home battery systems, home battery backup systems, off-grid systems, or grid tie systems, and integrating them. And then the final thing here is I got some of these flexible terminals, or flexible bus bar terminals, because one of the things that I was running into with all of the planned builds that I had for the Ford Ranger electric battery pack is there were some weird cell connections that were actually shorter rather than, so a standard BMS was going to end up being too long because they weren't designed to be put into the position that they were put into. So I went ahead and got some of these flexible, I believe they're 300 amp rated flexible bus bars that I will be hopefully using in the Ranger electric project, unless things go horribly wrong. But now that I have my workspace completely cleared, I guess I can get to work. Yeah, let me know what you want to follow along with. I'm going to be working through all of these things, so I can just sort of set up the camera and talk through them, walk through them. I just don't want to risk being too boring or too off topic, I guess you could say. But anyway, so yeah, let me just move this box out of the way in this definitely not off-grid garage. Oh, a beer. So all joking aside, all odes to the other DIYers out there who, like I said, are more competent and more capable and more experienced than me. Just let me know what you want to follow along with. Like I said, some of these projects I think I just need to hammer out. The F-150 fuel tank is probably the highest priority. It's a truck that I don't know that I'm going to keep, it just needs to be filled up and smogged and then possibly sold, or after I run the living headlights out of it, picking up some things that I'm going to need to finish some of my solar projects and things like that. And yeah, and let me know if that's something else that you're interested in, is just seeing how some of the solar panels are set up, what I'm doing with them, how I'm integrating them, and that whole system or ecosystem that I'm putting together, which, like I said, hopefully by the end of summer should allow me to flip the switch on the grid if I want to and just have a beer. As always, thank you for watching.